I need to address this comment. We need to not fall into the trap of thinking that norms and institutions alone will save us. This commenter says that, well, the person making the presentation forgets that in Romania, the office of the president is a ceremonial one. Only in the case of war does it have the duties of an army commander. They happen to unfortunately leave out the much more important and much more presently real problem that they also get to appoint the prime minister. We can see around the world that authoritarians use and abuse loopholes and ways to get around the rules or to bend and break the rules to enact their will. Do we have such short memories that we cannot forget Donald Trump attempting through January 6th to overthrow the elections by getting his vice president, a position that has so little power in the United States Constitution, to not certify the election? A situation, a task that was so boring and procedural, most people were not aware it even existed. But it became the crux of trying to overthrow their republic. We can again see what could happen if he, as president, decided not to nominate a prime minister indefinitely, or, for example, only nominate a particular person as prime minister. And we can see how quickly the democracy would start to bend and buckle at the fact that one of the constitutional officers is acting in a way that is counter to their role. Traditional, the norm that has been established, is being broken. And for the most part, norms are all dependent, every single one of them, on the majority, almost every single person agreeing to them. And that when one person breaks the norm, the remainder of the people snap back so hard that they are able to maintain it and stop that person from breaking it. It is very vital that to understand in this context that norms do not have sovereignty. The concept of norm sovereignty only exists if people are actively and constantly enforcing norms. Otherwise, they can quickly be done away with. And in a democracy, so many of our constitutional systems, whether written or unwritten, are based upon traditions and norms and ways of operating that are much more based upon customs and honor than any actual requirement to do things by the letter of the law. And most of the times, there is quite clear constitutional problems or loopholes that can be used and abused that scholars have discussed for years on end, as we constantly see in many examples by authoritarians doing just that. And this is important to understand that he could do many things. We watched Viktor Orban use the presidency of the European Union, the ceremonial office, to go and try to lead a parallel foreign policy around the world. This is the reality of what happens when we have authoritarians taking any sort of positions. They will bend and break the bounds of what that office is meant to do to the extent that it will be warped so out of shape that we will forget what the norm was in the first place. And that is why we cannot rely on the expectation that people who do not believe in norms, who think they should be done away with, will follow them. And that we have to understand that these offices that might have never become such a controversy before can become majorly important. And not just situations just like the presidency, but also important local and state offices that can have dramatic effects on the daily lives of people. Think about people who regulate the education system or healthcare or infrastructure. These are all avenues to enact huge amounts of power if they are used and abused. These are all things we need to remember, and do not fall in the trap of thinking that the norms will save us. They will not. The only people that can save us are people in the democracy forcing our politicians to act in a certain way, and our political leaders having the courage to enforce the norms of the democratic system that they seek to hold power in. Because right now it looks like they have completely abdicated that responsibility on every single level in Romania and elsewhere. So, thank you.